So I received a question from a subscriber. It's a really good question, so I thought I would use the opportunity to make a video about it. Carl writes, "Hi there, I really enjoy your videos and PDFs. Thanks, Carl. Your clarity is particularly wonderful. I wanted to ask your opinion about something. How does a person reconcile using Solomonic magic if they aren't Jewish, Christian, or Muslim? Do you personally see or feel any conflict with a person of another religion using this magic? Is it disrespectful to its origins to use it if I practice a different faith? I'm interested in how you see these things personally." With regards to the origins of Solomonic magic, and specifically we are talking now about traditional Solomonic magic, my YouTube channel typically sort of shares my hybrid method of folk magic, typically hoodoo, that I combine with Solomonic magic. But if you are asking about pure Solomonic magic, then I think it's important to actually understand the origins of Solomonic magic in order to answer this question clearly. A really good book that I can recommend, or two good books that I can recommend in this regard, are Stephen Skinner's Techniques of Solomonic Magic and Techniques of Greco-Egyptian Magic. And especially the Techniques of Solomonic Magic is a really good book. I'm not so sure about the Dungeons and Dragons style cover. That's a little bit misleading, but that doesn't take away from the fact that this is a really, really good book about the roots of Solomonic magic, what the techniques inside Solomonic magic consist of, and their origins. And it's pretty clear that Solomonic magic actually descends from Greco-Egyptian magic. The core techniques of Solomonic magic, the circle, the use of a wand, the use of a layman or a phylactery, the invocation, and the way that the spirits are directed, all these technologies, these actually descend from Greco-Egyptian sources. And then later, Jewish sources were kind of syncretized with it, specifically around the angel names, the divine names, and certain demons' names, and certain scrying methods and things that got kind of blended in, as well as the pentacles, according to Skinner. A lot of the pentacles actually derive from Jewish sources. The point is that Solomonic magic in itself isn't strictly Jewish or Christian or Muslim or anything of that sort. These Abrahamic angels, scripture, and various trappings got syncretized with Solomonic magic as the process of the transmission of those texts happened, right? So this can be compared a little bit to the transmission of the traditions of the African diaspora. Hoodoo, for example, is undoubtedly an African magical tradition, insofar as a lot of the core principles or techniques in hoodoo actually are a mixture of primarily Bantu Congolese methods, but there are some West African concepts in there. And then this has been blended with African American Christian magic. It is decidedly a form of Christian folk magic, but there is this sort of basis of African magic, and that the Christian component got syncretized. We see, for example, this also with voodoo, with the way that the saints are syncretized with the Loa. We see this also in Lukumi and Espiritismo. A lot of Catholic symbolism that got syncretized. So it's not disrespectful, strictly speaking, for people of another faith to practice Solomonic magic, because Solomonic magic derived from non-Christian sources and non-Jewish sources that got combined with Christian and Jewish sources. It would be a mistake, in my opinion, to think that we can just strip out these Christian or Jewish scriptural things, the things that got blended with, that got syncretized, and then think we're going to end up with this sort of like pagan kernel. Of course, the Western magical tradition, or rather the Western magical revival, has more or less been all about that, or the pursuit of that. But in my opinion, this is a bit like when people try to take hoodoo and strip out the Christian stuff out of hoodoo, or voodoo, and try and strip out the Christian stuff and sort of get to the true African heart of it, so to speak, right? And what happens is you do violence to the tradition, and that is because people that are pursuing this typically don't know what, it's not clear that what you're stripping out is in fact essential, and what you're deciding to leave in is just window dressing, right? So there is a distinct possibility here that you could destroy the actual thing that makes it work in an attempt to get overly atavistic and back to the sort of like pure form of whatever. That is my opinion. So even though I don't think it's disrespectful for someone of another religion to practice Solomonic magic, just because there are Jewish divine names or Christian scriptures that have been blended with it, I also think it is important that you need to make peace with the presence of this symbolism in the tradition, that to some extent this is part and parcel of the practice. So if you have a personal hang up about it, that's probably going to be more of an issue than whether it's disrespectful somehow, right? That's my take on it. And I feel more or less the same way about people who come to hoodoo. You have to make peace with the fact that hoodoo is a Christian form of African American folk magic. You cannot strip out the Christian stuff from hoodoo without basically obliterating the fabric of that tradition. Usually the way through that is by embracing that and coming to a sort of newfound clarity and insight into the Christian or Jewish symbolism. For example, in my own case, I was raised Catholic and I come from a Christian background. I come from a tradition of schooling where we started with prayer, we had Bible study, all this kind of stuff was part and parcel of my education growing up as a young person. And so when someone asks me, what religion are you? I will say I'm Christian because I was baptized into that faith. And then of course, culturally, I was raised in that. And then even beyond that, the Western tradition, the Western, if you're a Westerner, then likely you will have absorbed Judeo-Christian modes of understanding things, even if you weren't raised in a religious household. That programming, that foundation is still there, whether you want it to be or not. And this is often why you will see that Westerners that come from a Christian background who convert to other religions tend to Christianize or enact certain patterns, Christian, Judeo-Christian patterns within those traditions in a very unconscious way. They begin, sort of remaking that tradition into a Christian form. And you see this a lot with neo-pagans. I've seen a lot of neo-pagan forms that remind me of really just as this being some sort of elaborate, covering for what is just really a style of Christian worship. And my point is, it's very difficult to escape from this. And one of the awesome things, one of the empowering things about hoodoo, about Solomonic magic, and about the Western magical tradition is that it's a way of reclaiming that and making it your own, working through it in a magical way. So this is why I have no problem saying that I am a Christian, even though my understanding of Jesus is a very magical, mystical understanding, right? And this is also supported, of course, by the history of Christianity. You know, some of the earliest images of Christ show him with a wand or a caduceus, which reflects the fact that in the ancient world he was actually first understood to be a kind of magician. So, you know, there are a lot of ways of using that symbolism without necessarily having to eat the whole fish. You don't have to become a Bible-believing Christian who, you know, accepts all the trappings of the religion to use the symbolism of that in a magical way and in an empowering way, in an affirming way, and in a sympathetic way that is respectful. Remember to like or to subscribe or to share this. And if you want to support the channel, I've got a lot of ebooks. I've got a visual light setting service, the Angelical Candle Ministry. You can come for a reading. I've got some more stuff planned. So stay tuned for that. And thanks for watching.